Good morning, guys. Pete Dahlgren here, building the Mears Models F86. And again, we're live. If you're on, feel free to answer. I'll be happy to answer questions. Um, this is coat 2. And I just got done finishing up a lot of areas. I did wrap all of this area on this edge, and that will. And I did actually add a little bit more cloth around this edge in here on this. And the reason I did that was so that it doesn't chip off. Now, I just ordered the Spray Max 2K Clear. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the primer and what we're going to be looking at, because this looks all nice and straight and gorgeous and all that, but I assure you, my friends, that it is not. There's a lot of butters up in there. And I did wrap around the top here and this and that and around the edges. That's because the hatch will go in there, and I did test fit it, and I am working on some other things here. I did do a little bit of body work, and I'm probably going to laminate the hatch a little bit later today. And well, get it glassed. And the reason for this is so then I can come up here and start working on this bad boy. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this 2K primer and why I'm using it. Is because it is an epoxy, so it will adhere better on this, and it's very important that you use a high build. And if you can't afford to do that, and I can't imagine why you wouldn't. The one thing is that, guys, I want to emphasize at this point, you've got quite a bit of money and a hell of a lot of time invested in this. And I can't imagine putting a second-rate paint on there, but if you're going to use a paint, don't use Rust-Oleum, don't use none of that crap. I mean, take the time and make the commitment to do this. Also, I had a little hanger accident here and had to do a little bit of repair over here on this. I'll show you that in a minute. And getting that ready to go in and actually glass and get it ready to go. And that'll be the next part. And while I'm actually priming this part, I'll be glassing the other. And there's a lot of things. And I did actually do some repairs, which was caught by a couple of you guys that watched me tell me that I had the wrong tail on the airplane. And you're right, I did. Tunnel's done. It's glassed. It's not beautiful, but I'll make it that way. I'm going to go ahead and get it, and I'm just simply going to go in and I'm going to just touch it up a little bit here with some Bondo inside there. It's a messy process, but the edges look really good, so I'm not going to worry about it. This is your second coat, and as a lot of you can see, it actually does. It fills that weave in pretty good. The third one, it'll look like white. It'd be a shame to prime it, but I got a lot of Bondo in this thing here where I've done a lot of my major fills. And again, you can't see them, they'll disappear. Another beautiful thing about using the Z epoxy is that any of these joints that are in here, guess what? That dark you're looking at, that's where it's actually penetrated almost all the way through. Any of my little patches or anything I put in, they are in there for good. They're not ever going to come out. I mean, they're all glued in, and that's another really good thing. And I can actually show you. And, you know, yeah, I got my joints pretty tight, but anything I misglued, I'm looking through the inside of the fuselage, guys, and I can see exactly, just like right there, some of that's glue, but that is that epoxy with that alcohol going all the way through it. There's no chance of that ever coming apart, and that's what I did. My extra resin, I fuel proof anywhere where the fuel tanks are going to be and all that, if I have any less in there. And I did coat my engine mounts, and the reason I did that is just makes them a little bit harder. And that, by the way, guys, I don't know if I showed it in the deal. There's nothing wrong with the plywood that Mears sends you. You can use it and it will be just fine. But I opted to go with aircraft plywood on there and just duplicated the part and put it on. To me, it just made a little bit more sense. One thing that I am going to tell you guys, and I will talk to Mears about this, is that rear mount in the back of that thing is, as you can see, part of mine is missing. And I picked it up off of that with the 2-piece. And if you're building the 1-piece fuselage, probably not a big deal. But I would actually either sister a piece of 16th inch aircraft plywood to it and make it a lot stronger. That's one part that I would personally change in there and make it a better piece of plywood. And it's not a real big deal. If you've already built your plane and all this, you're going to find out it's not a big, huge deal, but you can't handle your airplane from back there. And I found out the hard way. And again, I'll flip this over. I got some work I had to do. I dropped the part and I broke it and I fixed it. It's not a big deal. It's actually very strong, but at this point, it did have some issues to where it needed a little bit of attention, and it was not a big deal. The airplane is extremely strong in it. It's not anything to get worried about, and it's the weight on this, guys. I weighed this last night. The forward fuselage is 3.5 pounds. It's not very heavy when you consider the fact that you're going to be putting about 12 pounds of gear, and that thing doesn't weigh much at all. The airplane's only going to weigh about 35 pounds is my projected weight with everything on it, everything in it without fuel. 40 pounds max. And that's where I'm trying to keep it. And gonna have a bit of a surprise coming up soon. Until I get it, I'm not gonna mention it, but got a viewer that actually has made a major, huge contribution to this airplane. And when it gets here, I will actually let you guys all know what it is and show you how awesome this little project has been. And this is why I do these. And also, some guys asked me about iflyatilis.com, and I've been using his parts for some time now, and they're amazing. And nothing wrong with the cockpit kit that are available for this airplane. They're absolutely incredibly beautiful and this and that. But I do want to point out one thing is that I love to build those details myself. I like to look at pictures and actually make them. I can do a ready-made thing and it would be no big deal. But as far as the cockpit, if you guys have seen any pictures of my Spitfire, I took a cheap kit and I made it freaking amazing by just adding real screws, wire, welding rods, anything I could use to bend to make these parts, scraps. And there's a lot of things I learned by building the Spitfire that I'm going to incorporate this. The details are what are going to make this thing an amazing looking jet. The hard part is just about over, guys. Once this is all done, we'll get back on the wings. This will be done because it will take me literally 3 or 4 months to detail, to put all the rivets and screws and things like this and that are on here. But I want to throw you guys under the bus here and show you something I didn't make that I'm going to make even better. And this is something that I got. It is through Mears. It was made by McGee Models, and this is their canopy. And believe me, guys, I got a little bit of Bondo on it, and I'm not worried about it. This is a major time saver, and it is nice and thick, and it does it, and it's already kind of weathered. But anyway, the thing is, I want to show you, it doesn't look all that great right now because this is the way he builds. But I'm assuring you, this is a major time saver, and I love the work. The thing is, I'm going to be a little bit more picky about it. And to make the Mears jet look even more better, I'm going to kind of revamp it just a little bit. And I'm going to use the Mears sets parts to make it all match, which means I'm probably going to prime and fill a lot of that and straighten them out a little bit. But that's part of modeling, and that's something that you got to do. But I'm telling you right now, his craftsmanship is amazing. And if you have not looked at Maguro's models, you should. They're absolutely gorgeous. But we are building a 1953 Korean War Model A jet. And there's some things on this that it's going to get that a lot of things should have or shouldn't have. We're going to be poking some holes in that to get the actual correct vents in there. We're going to be doing a lot of really wild things over the course of the next 6 to 7 months on this. And I'm going to be doing a lot more. But the main thing is we got to get the bodywork done on this. And this has taken me right now, just because of dry time and curing time, to do the front and the stabilizer, the rudder, and all the little parts and stuff like that. All these little parts has taken me about a week to get all this done. It'll probably take a few days to get the rest of the stuff done on the air brakes and things like that. And there's little things. Of course, I've also ordered new servos. They're on their way. I've ordered chart pack tape. It's on its way because it's really hard to find around here. And I'll be using 64th on it to get a lot of this stuff done. There's a lot of reference lines. Also tomorrow, I've got a 32nd scale plastic model that I'm going to be showing you guys when it comes to this, because it's very important that you see these details. And the only way you can do that, you can look at all the drawings you want, but if you look on the 72nd drawing, it'll show you quite a bit. It'll give you a really good reference, but then you're looking at a lot of other pictures. And I'm not into that. I like to see something that's been done, that's actually true to scale, that you could actually go and do and actually take those measurements and get them and duplicate them. And I'm going to show you guys all of that. When it comes to that, I'm going to show you every bit of how I lay out the panel lines on this guy and everything else. But we got one more coat of resin to put on this. And I'm waiting for some, and then we're going to start getting that done and this and that. A lot of guys have asked me about the sliding mechanism actually on this and what it is. So I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to show you, because my canopy will open and close, and it will be done with a lineal actuator. And with that being said, that is a temporary piece that I put in there just to hold this wide. That's not even glued in there all the way. It's just tack glued, and I just pop it right out. But what I did when I did this, I built these frames. Of course, this is my mechanism. That's the stop. This is where it comes in. Then there's a secondary lock that goes in there. And that is hardwood. That is maple. And it's just a hair over the width of what it takes to actually go in and make that work. And then, of course, it's just glued in. Everywhere else, I added a couple little pieces back here to brace that up. And that's where you would go to do that. And if you want this, I will actually measure it. It's pretty stout. It's all trussed in, and it's all built in with certain areas and pieces and things like that. And you can kind of see it, but I will draw it up for you. And yes, I did actually establish the center line of the airplane to do this. And then I just kind of laminated it out of there. So anyway, let me set this up here real quick. And sorry for the darkness. And then I'm going to show you how it actually does in fact work. Maybe. Okay, here we go. Anyways, guys, the piece comes in like so. And with everything I did, I have the piece. My mechanism to make it actually work and done is just a piece of scrap. I have not cut it off yet because I don't know where I'm going to put the lineal actuator through it, but all it does is simply drop in. And you could do this with a piece of G10. I might do it. But anyway, it just sits in here. And it does open and close like this. See if you can get a better look. When it's set down under here, what I'll do in here, guys, is that I will take another couple pieces of hard wood and I'll actually bolt them on here. And then I'll just simply cut the excess off and add the lineal actuator, which will go right about in here. And that will push it. It'll push it like this. Now you'll notice there's a little notch in there. That notch is your lock. When it comes up, when it's actually in, it actually does go in and it keeps. Once it's all the way forward, it actually does lock it down and keeps it. It can't blow off. But anyway, it'll smooth out once I get it sanded and done. And one thing is, it's been a little damp here too, so it's very important that I get this glassed and get the underneath. And all it is 30 seconds balsa on the plate. And once that's all done, I will glass this all the way up. And then what happens there is that'll become very solid, and then I can sand it down to 600 grit and get it to actually go. The same thing with this. Once it's glassed, it will actually settle it down and go. And just go, you can see what I'm up to. This is kind of the thing about, this is why this is so cool. Because with this being, I need a haircut again. Anyway, this being done, that sits like that in there. And once it's done, I'll simply epoxy this down. I've already cut part of it right here. I will cut this all the way down, and then I will fill this all the way up and around and up there. And that is, of course, after the inside has been glassed. But that being said, you look at that nose now, and that is gorgeous. And it is right. It's exactly right. And it looks tremendously awesome. Very happy with this. And for the cost of it, you can't go wrong, even if you sand it off and refill and redo all the rivets, guys. That is going to be one beautiful looking canopy. And the nice thing about it is with this being done, you've taken all this off. You can remove this and you can easily come in, do all your parts and pieces that are going inside that makes this look awesome. And here's the beautiful thing about it. And I want to kind of show this because it's kind of a really cool deal. With, they give you a couple of deals with the canopy. Now, I didn't think that there was going to be a lot with the No, Trump. Yeah. Yes, nothing's acceptable. Anyway, to give you this, and this is actually a very thin piece. You could use it, but here's the nice thing about this, guys. That's actually your pattern, and you can see it's very flimsy. This one is not, but you can transfer, you can test fit and test trim all of your windows before you glue them in. With this one, you can trace them on the outside of that one, stick them in. I don't glue my windows in, and I don't do that. I use an actual tape, the 2A 3M tape, and get it in there and rub it in there. And I'll show you how I prep for that. And it's actually, it's outstanding. I mean, there's no possible way you can have failure. But anyway, just showing you why you guys saw this. I messed with this for a couple months, and I wasn't too far off, but the one thing is that I absolutely hated this. I needed it to look a little, it lays flat like that. And I tried a couple of things, but I needed it to actually be more like this. But I want to show you just how, when you look, yeah, and because I doing. Anyway, this is why I ordered. This is how far I was actually off. And this is why I ordered a new canopy. Yeah, I hated this. It looked like shit. But this is also showing you, once you get done with it and you got a pattern, you know where you're going to be. 2-way tape your windows in. And right where they go, and bam, you're there. And you can actually, yeah, it's that good. So this is a major time saver. It's just something you can do it. You can take and you can cover one of these with fiberglass, and you can do it. These are inexpensive, but this is priceless. I mean, as far as having good scale details and all this other thing, and making something that really looks real. So it was there. Another thing I wanted to show you too. I was going to play with the white metal a little bit, but it's dirty in here. Sorry. But anyway, when I was looking at this and doing that, I didn't just miscut it, but looking, I just guessed on everything I was doing, and you can see I was real close to where it needed to be, but I didn't have the angles right, and I didn't know, really guys, quite honestly, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And so setting this up and had it worked on the other frame. I was not happy with it. So using somebody else's piece along with other pieces already made and this fit right over the other one. It's just it's just a very cool piece. And so I know Mears has them. I think these are about $40 or something like that. And these are about $40 or so, but very well made. Very well made. And it's, anyway, these things are extremely well made. The details are really good. Everything on that looks great. He even puts for the hatch, there's actually, the latches are actually in there. The release is actually in it. It's correct. And actually the positioning of the vents are on it. They're right. So, and they are actually quarter correct. So The one thing I will say is that, Maguiro's watching, well done. I'm not picking anything out of that and not criticizing anything in any way, shape, or form. Outstanding work. Very, very nice craftsmanship. And the glass work is fantastic. The one thing is that part, even if you sanded it off, and it's like I said, the only reason I'm doing it is because I want all the details to match. I don't want it to look like somebody grabbed a fender off a Volkswagen and stuck it on a Ferrari. So that's not a slam. It's not an insult. It's just, I want to make sure that the details put on this jet when it goes for Top Gun are absolutely top notch. And the other reason is I'm not good enough to beat that airplane up and make the rest of it match that airplane and match that beautiful part. So I'm going to clean it up just a hair. I'm not going to change very much of it. It's just going to be very, very, very minor stuff. And it's actually just redoing a little bit of what he did, just so all my details match. And if you guys have not seen those, this is about 20,000 rivets. And these are Mersys detail sets. And this is what I use. And I will use probably more than this. I've got about 25,000 of them, along with screws and everything else. And I need to order some more because I don't think I'm going to have quite enough. And if I don't, it's no big. We're just about done, with the exception of this. Once I get servos in, I'll go ahead and I'll start doing some videos on some of the electronic installation. Again, the meetings really begin with it because there are so much, there are so many options and things to do with radios and everything these days. And there's no price limit on a lot of this stuff. And guys, I'm not rich, so I've got about $3,000 left to actually get this as close as possible, and then I'll have to stop for a while and go make some more money. And so if anybody out there does actually have, in fact, a used turbine, this one, I'm looking for a KT180 or anything like that. If anybody's got an actual turbine they want to sell, let me know. If it needs to be rebuilt, I'll send it in and get it done. If you got one with reasonable flight time left on it, that would be killer. We'll get everything kind of rolling on this, start getting more and more done. I've got a lot to go, a long ways to go. We all do. So it's not a big deal. So anyways, I'm going to get back to work. I'll see you guys in the funny page.